be a few minutes late. I will call the meeting of the District 64 Board of Education to order. Mr. Uliv, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Sharon.
Here.
Dad.
Here.
John.
Here.
And myself, members Borelli, Collins, and Zimmerman.
Dr. Burrell is expected a little bit shortly. He's in traffic. Mr. Collins and Mr. Zimmerman are away this evening. Our first item of business this evening is to do a committee of the whole. And tonight's committee of the whole is going to deal with the hiring process and provide a bit of education for board members on the details of how that is working, as well as an opportunity for discussion of the hiring process and board members' views on that. Dr. Stringer is going to do a presentation for us on that. Just for organizational purposes, the way I think we'll run this is Dr. Stringer will give us a briefing on hiring practices. We'll have an opportunity for board members to ask questions. I'll turn at that point and see if any members of the public want to offer any comments. And then following that, turn back to board members and offer an opportunity for any comments or discussion in particular about items that you think ought to be considered in the hiring process, etc. So that'd be my plan as to how to organize things. Any questions before Dr. Stringer starts? Okay, if not, Dr. Stringer, go right ahead.
Okay, I'm going to actually just review the narrative that I put in the board packages, and the narrative was also on the table this evening. And then after that, I'll entertain your questions. Our hiring process begins with the identification of a position. And this can be a vacated position or a newly created position. An example of a vacated position would be a retirement or leave or move to another district or out of town. An example of a newly created position would be an additional section due to enrollment or a new program that the district is instituting. For vacated positions, according to the PREA contract, intra-school assignments are filled first. And this means that interviews take place in the local school before these positions are posted in the district. For example, a field vacancy, the position is only posted at field in the first posting. Each teacher at field school would have the opportunity to apply to be interviewed. If the position is filled by a teacher from field school, then the position that teacher vacated is once again posted, and teachers once again at field school would have the opportunity to apply for that position. And this is according to our PREA agreement. So intra-school transfers happen first. After that process, I will then post what's left for district teachers and on our website. For district teachers, in order to fill a position, they have to send in a resume to the Human Resources Department. The administrator who is doing the interview process for their local building or for the district would have the opportunity to review the resume and to review the file, the personnel file for that candidate. District teachers, according to our PREA agreement, also get first priorities for any positions that open up within our district. Outside candidates, however, do have the opportunity to apply, and quite often we will interview outside and inside candidates during the same process, giving some preference to inside candidates if they have the experience for that particular position. Outside candidates have to complete our online application, which is about 12 to 15 pages long, has very specific information about grade point averages, schools, experience, as well as 4 questions that must be answered on an essay writing. Recently, we had a committee due to the strategic plan, and we did revise the questions that the teacher candidates must answer in essay form. The first question is describe the skills or attributes you believe are necessary to be an outstanding teacher. How would you differentiate instruction to meet a wide range of skills in your classroom? Describe what personal and professional characteristics how do you integrate technology into instruction? And these essay questions are at the end of the application. They also have to have a letter of introduction. They have to submit a current resume, if you're an outside candidate, your university credentials, your transcripts, 3 letters of recommendation, and your highly qualified credentials from the state of Illinois. And all of these items are submitted electronically through our application system. Applications are then screened by the administrator according to the criteria established by the interview committee or the staff. These can include years of experience, education, grades or transcripts, previous subjects taught, and districts that are, we also quite often look for districts that are similar to Park Ridge. For district applications, for example, positions such as literacy, art, music, PE, most of those criteria would go through the Department of Student Learning. But before we start screening, we actually have a list of what our qualifications are for the applicants that we are looking at for our district. Beginning in the fall of 2012, and as a part of the strategic plan, we have also added a teacher fit tool to the application system. Applicants must complete a questionnaire prior to filling out the application, and this questionnaire is actually graded in the areas of fairness and respect, concern for student learning, adaptability, communication and persuasion, planning and organization, and cultural competence. And an applicant is given a grade, a state-eyeing range within each of those categories before they would complete the application. Following the administrative screening, there's a staff committee. And this committee, depending on the position, could be made up of local school, it could be made up of a grade level, it could be made up of district administrators sitting with the principal. For example, Mr. Even and Dr. Cannell just interviewed for a special services facilitator. Mr. Even sat in as the district director, Dr. Cannell as the principal, as well as other teachers and special ed teachers from within Carpenter School. So depending on the process, we make a decision on which administrators will sit in. Most often for principals in their local school, it will be the principal and their teachers, maybe a department head, depending on the grade level and depending on the subject area. The committee will develop questions, and questions will also be received from the Human Resources Department, and they will go through the interview process. Following the process, they'll narrow it down many times, 1, 2, or 3 candidates, depending on how many they started with, and they will do reference checks. After the reference checks, a recommendation is made to the Human Resources Department, and I will meet with the candidate to go over the salary and the benefit review, and then if everything works out, we will submit it to the Board of Education, as we are doing this evening, with a number of candidates for approval. Following the approval, we will schedule a criminal background check, which is fingerprinting, over at Maine South. We share the facility and pay for it through with Maine South and some of the other districts in the area. And if everything's cleared, the person is put in one of our classrooms. The entire process takes 4 to 6 weeks to complete with each application we have. Now sometimes it'll go much faster if all the applicants are from within the building and enrollment's down and we are not posting anything else. But most of the time it will take 4 to 6 weeks to get through the process. So that's the basic overall process for teachers. I know that in the past I've always included the process for administrators, and if you remember that process this year, it doesn't vary that much, except the selection is usually housed, almost everything is housed in central office. And in this way, we share the information. Following the process, each administrator writes up exactly what they did from the start to the end. They include all of the applications, all of the names that they reviewed for my staff, and this information is filed away for up to 2 years. So at this point, I'd like to stop with the process and answer any questions, specific questions that you have before I talk about the compensation.
Sandra, is there a general timeline that's established for a position to remain open once it's posted, or does it depend on the position?
Our general timeline, according to our PREA agreement, is up to 10 days. But as we get closer to the school year, we may put 5 days or immediate. But most of the time, we will leave a position up for a teacher for at least 2 weeks. For an administrator, we usually leave those positions up for at least 4 weeks.
How do you handle candidates that might be overqualified? So you described how when a position's open, you put together a description that says, these are the qualifications that you're looking for a particular position. And if you have people that apply that have, let's say, more experience or more education than necessarily, the requirements of the position, how do you handle those applicants?
We actually do minimum qualifications, so we may say 5 years experience in a particular grade level or at least, and that's how it's, or preferred, and that's how we put it. So if we have someone who comes in with more than 5 years, let's say they have 10 years or 15 years, if in fact we've reviewed their application and their experience level in the districts that they've been in and the qualifications we are looking for seem to match, then we may still interview them because we're doing minimum, not maximum.
Other board questions on this part of the presentation? Why don't we let Dr. Stringer get all the way through her presentation? I want to get the board member